Genesis chapter 42. Jacob, seeing that there were supplies to be had in Egypt, said to his sons, "Why do you keep staring at one another? I hear," he said, "that there are supplies in Egypt. Go down and procure some for us there, so that we may survive and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to procure grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers. Nothing must happen to him, he thought. Thus the sons of Israel were among the other people who came to get supplies, there being famine in Canaan. It was Joseph as the man in authority over the country, higher population. So Joseph's brothers went and bowed down before him, their faces touching the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he did not make himself known to them, and he spoke harshly to them. "Where have you come from?" he asked. "From Canaan to get food," they replied. Now when Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him, Joseph remembered the dreams he had had about them, and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to discover the country's weak points." "No, my lord," they said, "your servants have come to get food. We are all sons of the same man. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies." "Oh no," he replied, "you have come to discover the country's weak points." "Your servants were 12 brothers," they said, "sons of the same man in Canaan, but the youngest is at present with our father, and the other one is no more." To which Joseph retorted, "It is as I said, you are spies. This is the test you are to undergo. As sure as Pharaoh lives, you shall not live unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of your number to fetch your brother. You others will remain under arrest, so that your statements can be tested to see whether or not you are honest. If not, then as sure as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." Whereupon he put them all into custody for 3 days. On the 3rd day Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I am a man who fears God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be detained where you are imprisoned. The rest of you, go and take supplies home for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. In this way, what you have said will be verified, and you will not have to die." And this is what they did. And they said to one another, "Clearly, we are being punished for what we did to our brother. We saw his deep misery when he pleaded with us, but we would not listen, and now this misery has come home to us." Reuben retorted to them, "Did I not tell you not to wrong the boy? But you would not listen. Now comes the accounting." They did not know that Joseph understood, because there was an interpreter between them. He turned away from them and wept. When he was able to speak to them again, he chose Simeon out of their number and had him bound while they looked on. Joseph gave the order to fill their panniers with grain, to put back each man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. This was done for them. Then they loaded their supplies on their donkeys and went away. But when they camped for the night, one of them opened his sack to give his donkey some fodder, and saw his money. There it was in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brothers, "My money has been put back. Here it is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and they looked at one another in panic, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" Returning to their father Jacob in Canaan, they gave him a full report of what had happened to them. The man who is lord of the country spoke harshly to us, accusing us of spying on the country. We told him we are honest men, we are not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of the same father. One of us is no more, and the youngest is at present with our father in Canaan. But the man who is lord of the country said to us, "This is how I shall know whether you are honest. Leave one of your brothers with me. Take supplies for your starving families and be gone. But bring me back your youngest brother, and then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men. Then I shall give your brother back to you, and you will be free to move about the country." As they emptied their sacks, each discovered his bag of money in his sack. On seeing their bags of money, they were afraid, and so was their father. Then their father Jacob said to them, "You are robbing me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin? I bear the brunt of all this." Then Reuben said to his father, "You may put my 2 sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will bring him back to you." But he replied, "My son is not going down with you, for now his brother is dead. He is the only one left. If any harm came to him on the journey you are undertaking, you would send my white head down to Sheol with grief." Genesis chapter 43. But the famine in the country grew worse, and when they finished eating the supplies which they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back and get us a little food." But Judah replied, "The man expressly warned us, 'You will not be admitted to my presence unless your brother is with you.' If you are ready to send our brother with us, we will go down and get food for you. But if you are not ready to send him, we will not go down. In view of the man's warning, you will not be admitted to my presence unless your brother is with you." Then Israel said, "Why did you bring this misery on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "He kept questioning us about ourselves and our family, asking, 'Is your father still alive? And have you another brother?' That is why we told him. How could we know he was going to say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Judah then said to his father Israel, "Send the boy with me, and let us be off and go, if we are to survive and not die, we, you, and our dependents. I will go surety for him, and you can hold me responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and produce him before you, let me bear the blame all my life. Indeed, if we had not wasted so much time, we should have been there and back twice by now." Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be so, then do this. Take some of the country's best products in your baggage, and take them to the man as a gift. Some balsam, some honey, gum tragacanth, resin, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double the amount of money with you, and return the money put back in the mouth of your sacks. It may have been a mistake. Take your brother and go back to the man. May El Shaddai move the man to be kind to you, and allow you to bring back your other brother and Benjamin. As for me, if I must be bereaved I must be." The men took this gift. They take double the amount of money with them, and Benjamin. They set off, went down to Egypt, and presented themselves before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to his chamberlain, "Take these men into the house, slaughter a beast and prepare it, for these men are to eat with me at midday." The man did as Joseph had ordered, and took the men to Joseph's house. The men were afraid at being taken to Joseph's house and said, "We are being taken there because of the money we placed in our sacks the first time. They will set on us, they will fall on us and make slaves of us, and take our donkeys too." So they went up to Joseph's chamberlain and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. "By your leave, sir," they said, "we came down once before to get supplies, and when we reached camp and opened our sacks, there was each man's money in the mouth of his sack to the full. But we have brought it back with us, and we have brought more money with us for the supplies. We do not know who put our money in our sacks." "Set your minds at ease," he replied. "Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money." And he brought Simeon out to them. The man then took the men into Joseph's house. He offered them water to wash their feet and gave their donkeys fodder. They arranged their gift while they waited for Joseph to come at midday, for they had heard they were to dine there. When Joseph arrived at the house, they offered him the gift they had with them, bowing low before him. He greeted them pleasantly, asking, "Is your father well, the old man you told me of? Is he still alive?" "Your servant, our father, is well," they replied. "He is still alive," and they bowed respectfully. Looking about, he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. "Is this your youngest brother?" he asked, "of whom you told me?" And he added, "God be good to you, my son." Joseph hurried out. So strong was the affection he felt for his brother that he wanted to cry. He went into his room and there he wept. After washing his face, he returned, and controlling himself gave the order, "Serve the meal." He was served separately. So were they, and so were the Egyptians who ate in his household, for the Egyptians could not take food with Hebrews. Egyptians have a horror of doing so. They were placed facing him in order of seniority, from the eldest to the youngest, and the men looked at one another in amazement. He had portions carried to them from his own dish, the portion for Benjamin being 5 times larger than any of the others, and they feasted with him and drank freely. Genesis chapter 44. Then Joseph instructed his chamberlain as follows, "Fill these men's sacks as much food as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, as well as the money for his rations." He did as Joseph had instructed. At daybreak the men were sent off for their donkeys. They had gone only a little way from the city when Joseph said to his chamberlain, "Away now and follow those men. When you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Is this not what my Lord uses for drinking and also for reading omens? What you have done is wrong.'" So when he caught up with them, he repeated these words. They asked him, "What does my Lord mean? Your servants would never think of doing such a thing. Look, we brought you back the money we found in the mouths of our sacks, all the way from Canaan. Are we likely to have stolen silver or gold from your master's house? Whichever of your servants is found to have it shall die, and the rest of us shall be slaves of my Lord." "Very well then, it shall be as you say," he replied. "The one on whom it is found shall become my slave." Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each opened his own. He searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, and found the cup in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, and when each man had reloaded his donkey, they returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers arrived at Joseph's house, he was still there, so they fell on the ground in front of him. "What do you mean by doing this?" Joseph asked them. "Did you not know that a man such as I am is a reader of omens?" "What can we answer, my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we clear ourselves? God himself has uncovered your servant's guilt. Here we are then, my lord's slaves, we no less than the one in whose possession the cup was found." "I could not think of doing such a thing," he replied. "The man in whose possession the cup was found shall be my slave, but you can go back unhindered to your father." At this, Judah went up to him and said, "May it please my lord, let your servant have a word privately with my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself." My lord questioned his servants, "Have you father or brother?" "As we said to my lord, we have an old father, and a younger brother born of his old age. His brother is dead, so he is the only one by that mother now left, and his father loves him." "Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me, so that I can set eyes on him.' We replied to my lord, 'The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you said to your servants, 'If your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not be admitted to my presence again.' When we went back to your servant my father, we repeated to him what my lord had said. So when our father said, 'Go back and get us a little food,' we said, 'We cannot go down. We shall go only if our youngest brother is with us. For unless our youngest brother is with us, we shall not be admitted to the man's presence.' So your servant, our father, said to us, 'You know that my wife bore me 2 children. When one of them left me, I supposed that he must have been torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and any harm comes to him, you will send my white head down to Sheol with grief. If I go to your servant my father now, and we do not have the boy with us, he will die as soon as he sees that the boy is not with us, for his heart is bound up with him, and your servants will have servant our father's white head down to Sheol with grief. Now your servant went surety to my father for the boy. I said, If I do not bring him back to you, let me bear the blame before my father all my life. Let your servant stay then as my lord's slave in place of the boy, I implore you, and let the boy go back with his brothers. How indeed could I go back to my father and not have the boy with me? I could not bear to see the misery that would overwhelm my father." Genesis chapter 45. Then Joseph could not control his feelings in front of all his retainers, and he exclaimed, "Let everyone leave me." No one therefore was present with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. But he wept so loudly that all the Egyptians heard, and the news reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father really still alive?" His brothers could not answer him. They were so dumbfounded at seeing him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come closer to me." When they had come closer to him, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not grieve, do not reproach yourselves for having sold me here, since God sent me before you to preserve your lives. For this is the 2nd year there has been famine in the country, and there are still 5 years to come without plowing or harvest. God sent me before you to assure the survival of your race on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here but God, and he has set me up as a father to Pharaoh, as lord of all his household and governor of the whole of Egypt. Return quickly to your father and tell him, your son Joseph says this, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me without delay. You will live in the region of Goshen, where you will be near me, you, your children, and your grandchildren, your flocks, your cattle, and all your possessions. There I shall provide for you, for there are 5 years of famine still to come, so that you, your household, and all yours are not reduced to penury. You can see with your own eyes, and my brother Benjamin can see too, that I am who I say I am. Give my father a full report of all the honor I enjoy in Egypt, all you have seen, and quickly bring my father down here. Then throwing his arms round the neck of his brother Benjamin, he wept, and Benjamin wept on his shoulder. He kissed all his brothers, weeping on each one. Only then were his brothers able to talk to him. News reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, and Pharaoh was pleased to hear it, as were his servants. Pharaoh told Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and hurry away to Canaan. Fetch your father and your families and come back to me. I will give you the best territory in Egypt, where you will live off the fat of the land. And you, for your part, give them this order. Do this, take wagons from Egypt, for your little ones and your wives. Get your father and come. Never mind about your property, for the best of all Egypt will be yours. Israel's sons did as they were told. Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had ordered, and he gave them provisions for the journey. To each and every one he gave new clothes, and to Benjamin 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. And to his father he sent 10 donkeys, laden with the best that Egypt offered, and 10 she-donkeys, laden with grain, bread, and food for his father's journey. And so he sent his brothers on their way. His final words to them were, and let there be no upset on the way. And so they left Egypt. When they reached their father Jacob in Canaan, they gave him this report, Joseph is still alive. He is at this moment governor of all Egypt. But he was as one stunned, for he did not believe them. However, when they told him all Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to fetch him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and Israel said, that is enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I must go and see him before I die. Genesis chapter 46. So Israel set out with all his possessions. Arriving at Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to Israel in a vision at night. Jacob, Jacob, he said. Here I am, he replied. I am El, God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid of going down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I shall go down to Egypt with you, and I myself shall bring you back again, and Joseph's hand will close your eyes. So Jacob left Beersheba. Israel's sons conveyed their father Jacob, their little children and their wives into the wagons Pharaoh had sent to fetch him. Taking their livestock and all that they had acquired in Canaan, they arrived in Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring. With him to Egypt he brought his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. These were the names of the Israelites, Jacob and his descendants, who arrived in Egypt. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palo, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul the son of the Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. And Onan had died in Canaan, and Hezron and Hamul, sons of Perez. The sons are Tola, Puva, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Chalil. These were the sons that Leah had borne to Jacob in Padan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. In all, his sons and daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Ezbon, Eri, Arodi, and Ereli. The sons of Asher, Jimnah, Jishva, Jishvi, Beriah, with their sister Zerah. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel. These were the sons of Silpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah. She bore this to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel, wife of Jacob, Joseph, and Benjamin. Born to Joseph in Egypt were Manasseh and Ephraim, sons of Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mapin, Hapin, and Ard. These were the sons that Rachel bore to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The sons of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jahzeel, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem. These were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Rachel. She bore this to Jacob, 7 persons in all. Altogether, the members of Jacob's family who arrived with him in Egypt, his own issue, not counting the wives of Jacob's sons, numbered 66 all told. With Joseph's sons born to him in Egypt, 2 persons, the members of Jacob's family who went to Egypt, totaled 70. Israel sent Judah ahead to Joseph, so that Judah might present himself to Joseph in Goshen. When they arrived in Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as he appeared, he threw his arms round his neck, and for a long time wept on his shoulder. Israel said to Joseph, "Now I can die, now that I have seen you in person and seen you still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and his father's family, "I shall go back and break the news to Pharaoh. I shall tell him, my brothers and my father's family who were in Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds and look after livestock, and they have brought their flocks and cattle and all their possessions." Thus when Pharaoh summons you and asks, "What is your occupation?" you are to say, "Ever since our boyhood your servants have looked after livestock, we and our fathers before us, so that you can stay in the Goshen region, for the Egyptians are a horror of all shepherds." Genesis chapter 47. So Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and brothers have arrived from Canaan with their flocks and cattle and all their possessions. Here they are in the region of Goshen." He had taken 5 of his brothers, and he now presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they gave Pharaoh the answer, "Your servants are shepherds like our fathers before us." They went on to tell Pharaoh, "We have come to stay in this country for the time being, since there is no pasturage for your servants' flocks, Canaan being stricken with famine. So now please allow your servants to settle in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "They may stay in the region of Goshen, and if you know of any capable men among them, put them in charge of my own livestock." Jacob and his sons went to Egypt, where Joseph was. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, heard about this and said to Joseph, Your father and brothers have come to you. The country of Egypt is open to you. Settle your father and brothers in the best region." Joseph brought his father and presented him to Pharaoh. Jacob paid his respects to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How many years have you lived?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my stay on earth add up to 130 years. Few and unhappy my years have been, falling short of my ancestors' years in their stay on earth." Jacob then took leave of Pharaoh and withdrew from his presence. Joseph then settled his father and brothers, giving them land holdings in Egypt, in the best part of the country, the region of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had ordered. Joseph provided his father, brothers, and all his father's family with food, down to the least of them. And on all the earth around there was no food anywhere, for the famine had grown very severe, and Egypt and Canaan were both weak with hunger. Joseph accumulated all the money to be found in Egypt and Canaan, in exchange for the supplies being handed out, and put the money in Pharaoh's palace. When all the money in Egypt and Canaan were exhausted, all the Egyptians came to Joseph pleading, "Give us food, unless you want us to die before your eyes, for our money has come to an end." Joseph replied, "Hand over your livestock, and I shall issue you food in exchange for your livestock, if your money has come to an end." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for horses and livestock, whether sheep or cattle, and for donkeys. Thus he saw them through the year with food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We cannot hide it from my lord. The truth is, our money has run out, and the livestock is in my lord's possession. There is nothing left for my lord except our bodies and our land. And if we and our land are not to perish, take us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will become Pharaoh's serfs. Only give us seed, so that we can survive and not die, and the land not revert to desert." Thus Joseph acquired all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh, since one by one the Egyptians sold their fields. So hard-pressed were they by the famine, and the whole country passed into Pharaoh's possession, while the people were reduced to serfdom from one end to Egypt to the other. The only land he did not acquire belonged to the priest, for the priest received an allowance from Pharaoh and lived on the allowance that Pharaoh gave them. Hence they had no need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "This is how we stand. I have bought you out with your land on Pharaoh's behalf. Here is seed for you to sow the land. But of the harvest you must give a fifth to Pharaoh. The other 4/5 you can have for sowing your field, to provide food for yourselves and your household, and food for your children." "You have saved our lives," they replied. "If it please my lord, we will become serfs to Pharaoh." So Joseph made a law still in force today, as regards the soil of Egypt, that 1/5 should go to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests did not go to Pharaoh. Thus Israel settled in Egypt, in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there. They were fruitful and grew very numerous. Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. Thus Jacob's total age came to 147 years. When Israel's time to die drew near, he sent for his son Joseph and said to him, "If you really love me, place your hand under my thigh as pledge that you will act with faithful love towards me. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my ancestors, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb. "I shall do as you say," he replied. "Swear to me," he insisted. So he swore to him, and Israel sank back on the pillow.